Tom, I think, was in around his 7th, 8th year at the U of R during this time, and I think Coach Tom Whittemore had really come along as a coach, from being a young guy who was coaching guys who weren't much younger than he was, to now knowing the ropes and very much leading and directing this team where it needed to go. And I think that piece was really important. You know, he was a great leader. We knew if we followed what he said, we were going to be in great shape. He had the right mix of keeping it fun and light, and then at the same time challenging us to work really hard. And so I think we had the talent in place. The year before, we'd come very close to beating Claremont. And I think with that, I tell my guys often that I coach at the high school level, it takes multiple years to win a championship. You know, you have to have time where you get close. And Claremont had just this air of invincibility at that time, and this thick armor, and it felt like we just had to chip away. And the year before, we had really chipped away. You know, guys like Joel Heath and Jay Hamilton and Mike Fiddler, Dana Robb, you know, some great players. And we got so close. I maybe even went to overtime the year before. There's something, I know it was very close. And then that next year, you know, we were all a year older, a year wiser, including, you know, Tom, the players, and some incoming freshman talent. And all of it came together. It was, you know, the perfect storm of great.
Well, I think that as I progressed through those first 6 years, by the time we got to the 92 season, I think you could see that we were on the right track and that we were improving, and we were close. We were close to being a SCIAC championship team. We were close to kind of taking the next step to the next level. And we weren't quite there yet. And it just took that one extra year, that next year of experience and adding a few more players for us to get to that next level where we were going to really compete to win a SCIAC championship. I think what had happened in 92, being very close, we knew that was a realistic possibility for us, and certainly going into 93, we had the confidence that we could make it happen. And it was an interesting group of guys. It was guys who we'd kind of gotten in a variety of different ways. We had an excellent group of seniors in Jim Leonard and Jared Young and Trevor Cox and Jeremy Clemens, who'd been in the program throughout their career. Jim Leonard was a special guy in putting this team together because he lived right next door to Greg Milton, who was obviously a very important player for us, and then one of our best freshmen that year was Drew Leonard, his younger brother. So getting Jim in the program was really helpful to us in terms of the recruiting that he did for us to add to the program. And then we had guys that I knew, Carl Brunst, who I'd coached in high school a little bit, local guys like Sean McWhorter, and guys from all over the country like you know, Jared Young or Jeremy Coyne from different parts of the country. So it came together very well, and we knew we were close going into that 93 season, that a championship was a realistic possibility for us.
What I remember most about our team in 1993 was probably just the camaraderie we had, what a good team we were. I think we all got along so well in and out of the pool. I just remember, you know, being one unit, and it's being a special group of guys.
I think on the 93 team, it was probably the first team that I had where we had a really solid starting group, but I also felt comfortable going to the bench. So I think that was one of the differences from years past to this season, is that we could go into the bench and not rely on just 6 or 7 players. I think that was something that was really key to us. I think another one is that this was a very, very fast team. We started 3 players, Jared Young, Greg Milton, Drew Leonard, who were all at some point in their careers Division III national caliber swimmers as well. And the other guys who played maybe weren't quite at the same swimming level as those guys, but were still very fast, worked hard up and down the pool. So it was a team that we could score in a variety of ways, both in the front court as well as on the counterattack. We were strong in the goal with both Marcus Kahn and Alden Weaver, so we had strong goalie play to back up our defense. And I think the other thing is that we were versatile, and so we had multiple players that could play multiple positions, whether it be somebody like Jim Leonard, who could guard 2 meters or set, or Greg Milton, who could do a little bit of everything, or at 2 meter offense we had Sean McWhorter, who was our primary center, but Jared Young could set some, Jim Leonard could set some, Milton could set some. So we had a lot of variety in the team, and so we weren't reliant on just one player in one scenario to help us to be successful.
The Skyac game in the old Courier Gymnasium pool, that big warehouse of a pool, and it was just crowded and jammed with people, and it was super loud. It was like most water polo games are outside and you hear people there, but it's not really like a basketball game environment, and that was like a basketball game environment. Super loud, people cheering at everything, and that was a ton of fun.
Favorite memory of this team, of course, would be the playing Claremont in our pool for the first Skyac game of the year with them, or excuse me, against them. Unlike any other water polo experience I've ever had, I don't think it was ever duplicated from that point forward either, in terms of what it felt like. You know, we were confident, we were at home, and in that old dungeon of a pool, standing room only, echoes loud as you could hear throughout campus. There was a press table at a water polo game, which I thought was a unique thing. To have all your friends virtually right on top of you, staring down at the game, still brings chills to my body, because it just was. It was our version of North Carolina Duke, or what you name a rivalry. It was that rivalry with that intensity and that passion, and to be a big victor in that game against a Claremont team who had all the praise was exciting, and to have our program take that step that night and have just such a crowd at Redlands to enjoy that is a memory that, when I think of that season, that's about all I can remember. I mean, I remember bits and pieces of games here and there, but certainly that night, even though it didn't win us the championship still had more work to do. That night was special, and we knew that night didn't win us the championship. And as much as we're going to talk about that night and that big game, we weren't too celebratory after the game. We enjoyed the win, but we knew that the season wasn't over and we hadn't won it yet. And so I think we continued with the mindset that we were good enough to keep going and take the championship later.
The one that really stands out and the most noticeable one was our Skyac dual game here at the old Courier Gym indoor pool against Claremont. And Claremont, it was my alma mater. They'd won 111 straight conference games. They were coached by Mike Sutton, my mentor. And so this was a big moment for us. And I think there was even more pressure because we had played them in some non-conference tournaments earlier in the season and beaten them. But that didn't break the streak because it wasn't a Skyac game. So all of a sudden, here's a scenario where we're going into a conference game against a team that's won 111 straight games, and yet we're the favorite. We're the ones with a little bit of the pressure on us because we'd already beaten them in some non-conference games. And it was a great environment in the Courier Gym pool. It was packed. Because that pool was so condensed and confined, it was really, really loud. It went off like magic. It just went according to plan. Sean McWhorter got us off to a great start, and we scored a 2-point goal to start the game, which they had at that time in water polo, and then just never really looked back and then pulled away throughout the game and won 13-5. So it was just a great night, a magical night, in a landmark for our program to kind of show that we had arrived on the scene in men's water polo and within the Skyac, and then that set us on our way to win that Skyac championship later in the year.
We went through Skyac. We had a really good year in Skyac that year, and we went into the Skyac tournament. We were doing really well, and I remember the championship game. We'd beaten Claremont a few times by then and beaten everybody else pretty easily in Skyac. And Trevor Cox and I, who've been roommates all the way through college and are still good friends today, and played every water polo game in our Redlands careers together. We're getting ready to start the game and looking over each other, and like, it's just another game for us because it had felt not easy, but it felt right to start winning.
To win the championship for men's water polo at Redlands was just a big day, and it didn't feel as big because a lot of us look back at the breaking the streak game as more of kind of that pivotal moment. So it was, in some senses, anticlimactic at the end, even though it was such a big deal at the end. It was kind of a oxymoronic, or just a weird juxtaposition of feelings, because we felt like we did the big stuff early, and then we just continued to do what we were supposed to do to win. And at that point, after we had the big game early on, we knew that we were going to win, or had all the tools to win, and that it was almost the expectation that we were going to win. And it wasn't, we didn't have to hold our breaths anymore in hopes that, you know, we might fall short or not, like we did the prior year in the SCIAC tournament, that we knew. So it was this weird, for me, this emotional kind of division of feelings, like, this is what we were supposed to do, cool, we did it. And that didn't compare to the excitement of the night that we broke the streak.
It's just a culminating piece of a lot of time we put in. I had those morning workouts, and you know, in the afternoon, and that pool felt like a sauna at times, and you know, your hair falling out because the chemicals were off or whatever, and you just did it, you know, and you don't often get recognized later. You do it because you love it and it's fun and you love to compete, but now to be recognized later and say that what you did was truly something great is really neat. I think that's going to mean a lot to a lot of guys.
Well, it's very meaningful to me, and it was 20 years ago that this team competed and won our first SCIAC championship, and time goes by fast. It's hard for me to believe it's been that long ago, because it's such a good group of guys, and my memories of this group are so vivid. But it's very meaningful to me on a personal level, because these were the first guys that took a chance on our program, took a chance on me as a young coach to believe what we could accomplish, and believe that we could do it in our facility, our old pool with the shallow end that was narrow and hot and humid, and that it was about not where you trained, but how you trained and who you trained with, that really made the difference in the possibility of your success. So it's meaningful for me that these guys were willing to take that chance on me and on our program, and I hope they appreciate it. I hope it's meaningful to them, and they really appreciate, and that this solidifies for them how much they mean to us and to our program, to our athletic department here at the University of Redlands, for taking our program to another level and being the first people to do that, to win a conference championship and prove that it could be done here. And I hope that carries a lot of value and meaning for them. It certainly does for me, and I value these guys not only as former players, but as friends, and for all the things that they've accomplished since they've graduated from the University of Redlands as well.
I'd first like to say that I'm sorry I could not make it this evening. I know it's a special night for all of you, your families, and myself as well, and just unfortunately could not make it tonight. But I want you to know that I'm there with you in spirit, and it is a sincere honor to go into the Hall of Fame with you guys, and I just want to congratulate all of you and Tom on the honor, and hope to see you guys all soon.
Yeah, I'd just like to say congratulations to the 1993 water polo team. It was really neat to play with you guys. I know you guys taught me a ton, and it was an experience I'll remember my whole life.
I wanted to congratulate my teammates for their successes, their drive, their dedication, the desire to win, and certainly the fun that we had during that season. And never will we forget the big game and what that meant, not only for winning the SCIAC championship, but just to be a part of that experience at that place and that time, that it's well deserved. So congratulations.